With the release of Terrifier 3, it's time to stop and rank all three entries into the Terrifier now 8-year-long franchise. My name is Max Sinnerberg. Welcome back to Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so notified when my videos drop here on YouTube. I do these types of movie franchise rankings. I also do movie, TV show reviews, a box office show every Tuesday, and add a theater reaction. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below, what is your ranking of the Terrifier franchise? How many more movies could there be? Should there be? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, please like the video. So without further ado, I will say this. I pretty much am going to go into spoilers on Terrifier 1 and 2 for this ranking video. But because Terrifier 3 is only a week old at this point, of me filming this, I will not go into full spoilers on Terrifier 3. So definitely stay tuned for my full spoiler review, which will be coming out possibly tomorrow for Terrifier 3. But I will not be talking spoilers when that movie comes up in this ranking. So without further ado, let's start with number 3, and that is the first movie in this franchise, Terrifier, which came out originally in 2016 and then at the festival circuit, but wasn't released theatrically, very limited back in 2018. This is a movie that is definitely a proof of concept film. The movie is 85 minutes with credits, and it is made for a budget of $35,000, in which the director, Damien Leone, had to write, direct, edit the movie together, put on the costumes, and create the designs of these characters. Also using some old equipment and borrowed equipment, all to make this movie happen. Fan-funded $35,000 budget. Again, this character, Art the Clown, was based on a short film, then put him as a side character, one sequence in another film, and now giving him his own movie. This was all a proof of concept. And that concept is Art the Clown is a terrifying slasher villain. The kills in this movie, yes, can be very cartoonish due to the budget, but for the most part, they still work. This definitely has more of like a Saw feel than any other films, that kind of grimy, grainy early 2000s feel to it with the way the movie looks. Obviously, both those films are very low budgeted. But what still works for this movie is Art the Clown definitely works. The kills are there. The sequence that gets this franchise a lot of heat, the chainsaw scene when they kill Dawn in the warehouse. I don't think this franchise, I'll say that, I don't think this franchise is misogynistic whatsoever. They kind of do similar kill to a guy in Terrifier 3. And the best character outside of Art is a female, a final girl in Terrifier 2 and 3. So, but I like that kill a lot. That was already a tough scene to top it. I think they topped that in Terrifier 2. What doesn't really work in this movie is kind of character or story. It's definitely just 85 minutes of Art the Clown going, stalking two teenagers and killing some people in the midst of the movie. It really has no story. We're just following two college teenagers who are out during Halloween. And halfway through the movie, they make the kind of big decision of killing off what we thought was the main character in Tara and moving on to Tara's sister, Victoria, who comes in towards the back half of the movie. But what this movie is definitely missing is that the care for these characters. I feel for the characters in Terrifier 2 and 3. This movie is just about having fun watching Art the Clown do his damage. This is not an awful film. I have fun enough. Like, I would give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I have fun enough with this movie, but this is more a proof of concept than a major motion picture. At number 2 for me, it's very tough to decide, but right now I'm going to give the runner-up to Terrifier 2, which Terrifier 2 and 3 will probably flip-flop for me based on when I view the movies next and over the next days, months, years to come. And probably on a different day, Terrifier 2 is number 1. I love Terrifier 2. This is exactly what a sequel should do, which is that, yes, the movie is definitely significantly up the budget from like $35,000 to around like $350,000 for the next film. Still not a good budget whatsoever, This film feels more grand, bigger, and they definitely went for a lot more kills. Now, while that's all the case, they actually have found their final girl, the perfect leading character for this franchise in this film with Sienna, who is someone who you do care about throughout the entire film. Now, with the big difference also between there's two main differences, which I'll get into between two and one. The first is the length of the movie. As I said, the first film was 85 minutes with credits. This movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes. And for a slasher, that is long. I do think it's the biggest issue with the movie. There's a couple times where the movie definitely could have trimmed some scenes down. It feels like every scene breathes, and sometimes that could be a good thing in a movie. I think this is the type of film where they could have cut maybe 15, 20 minutes down of those like little tweaks into the film, which would have elevated the pacing to it. Because I do think the third act can kind of drag a bit because it feels like the movie's ending, but it just doesn't feel like it ends for a portion. But the biggest difference in a positive way is this movie has so much lore because they established at the end of episode of the first Terrifier, he gets shot in the head and somehow he is alive. They establish that there's some supernatural entity with Art the Clown, and because they have to establish at the end of Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2 is to answer a lot of questions, but also leave some questions unanswered for the franchise. But they establish all this supernatural things. You're asking yourself, how is Sienna and her dad connected in this way? Why does Sienna have a sword that can protect herself from Art the Clown? Her brother, played by Jonathan's a perfect character for this franchise. He's someone who right away you can understand why people might think he is crazy. We also understand why he could be telling the truth. The dream sequence for Sienna at the beginning of the film with Art killing those people on the playground was a phenomenal scene. With the bedroom scene in this movie is still the best kill of the entire franchise. It is gnarly. It is gruesome. The innovation of it. I can't really describe a lot of these things. I don't want to get like copyright struck or anything like that. But it is some gruesome kills in this movie, especially the bedroom scene. That one is going to be really hard to top for this franchise moving forward. As I said, there was a lot of intensity because you care about the person who Art is going after. In the first film, you just wanted to see Art actually kill these people because he didn't really know who they are. This time around, you know who Sienna is, you know her family. It's a complicated family, but you can tell they mean well and are good people at heart. And when Art puts them in danger, you get pretty afraid that they are going to die at the end of the movie. But Sienna becomes the perfect final girl for this franchise. Terrifier 2 just really delivers for me. And other than it being nearly 2.5 hours, I think it's the perfect sequel to the original film. But coming number one for me is Terrifier 3 by like an inch. This is a phenomenal and creative horror film that after the last film takes place at Halloween, this movie takes place around Christmas. And the lovable, charming, upbeat Christmas music, pairing that with the most gory film with Art the Clown, seems like a match made in heaven for Terrifier 3. This movie, so many points in this film, I was telling myself, in a mainstream horror film, they would probably not go there. And the movie doesn't just like tiptoe over the line, it goes straight over the line. And when you're in a movie and it's really rare to see when you're in a theater and you have no idea what's going to happen next because the movie itself, because it's an indie movie with a $2 million budget, there are no rules. This is not distributed by a major movie studio. It has no major movie actors, really, for the most part, in this film. So it can kind of just go for whatever they want. And the freedom you see on screen it's so rare in Hollywood today. And it made the film and this entire franchise so awesome, is that you just feel a sense of freedom with the creative process, with the acting. David Howard Thornton, who I have to bring up, probably delivers his best performance as Art the Clown in Terrifier 3. He's amazing in all of his portrayals of Art. But in this film, he has to play both a lot of comedy in this movie, and it never pulls me out of the movie. Again, he's a mime. That whole character can make you laugh, terrified, cry, throw up, all of just movements by David Howard Thorne, because obviously art does not talk. That is some phenomenal acting, and it's also phenomenal makeup work as always for the franchise. Having our team with Victoria was an interesting dynamic, adds to the lore of the movie. And I also think the dynamic between Sienna and Jonathan was the correct and authentic follow-up to the events of 2, where Sienna and her brother Jonathan go through the same exact event together. And even though they both survive, they both are trying to move on in different ways. Jonathan's really trying to move on, while Sienna continues to see visions of Art the Clown being nearby, and she kind of can't get that out of her head. But you have two people who went through the same situation, are blood related to each other, but are going through this almost death, near death experience completely differently. And in most films, they don't choose to do that. They just try to make the person who survived it all just crazy. But having Jonathan be kind of not the sane one, but they both are just experiencing things very differently, which I enjoyed in Terrifier 3. It's also just a fun movie theater experience. It was the first time I saw one of these films in the theater, and being around a sold out crowd of Terrifier fans was a lot of fun in my theater the other day. So Terrifier 3 for me comes in at number 1. What are your thoughts on the Terrifier franchise? What is your ranking in the comment section down below? So also stay tuned for my full spoiler review of Terrifier 3 still to come during this week. I'll see you guys in the next video.